Sophie. I feel like it's just you and me today. This worked. Hooray. You can't do live from your computer anymore, which apparently I'm like the last person in the world to know. But hi, I hope you're doing well. Oh, there's two of us. Great. Hello. How's it going? What are you guys up to? I am jet lagged. I woke up at 3 a.m. And then fell asleep around 7. So I'm just crushing it. Hi. Live stream hype. I don't really do live streams, but I'm going to try to do more, especially as we go into winter. Don't cry, Scott. It's all joy. It's Sunday joy. Everyone told me that it was winter back in Indianapolis, and I came back, and it is tropical weather, maybe? No tears allowed. No tears allowed on the live show. Hello to Madrid. Hello from Indianapolis. So I got back and my flat is a mess. Well, it's a mess just because I'm strewing things everywhere. But I've been spending the last couple of weeks in London and doing a lot of like planning about what I want this channel to be doing over the next year, and like definitely back burner and with my travel videos and so on. Oh, thanks for saying that about my hair, because it's an actual bedhead. With everything with back burner and my travel videos and so on, like that's definitely the stuff that I like doing more of. So it's just figuring out how to do that, and then also tying all the stuff that I want to do, you know, educating people about politics and so on as well. So it's just more of like, I don't know that you'll necessarily see a massive amount of change, but it was just funny kind of being in that period of focus. But then I felt suddenly like I was having this discussion in isolation, rather than having it, you know, with you guys as well. Thanks for all the kind words about back burner, and I'm sorry that one of you has to go and prepare lessons now, such as Sunday. I also have to go and do some work in a little bit. But for now, I'm hanging out with you nice people. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any. I'm not really sure how this will go, you know. I just wanted to do it. And I've been saying I'll be doing a live show for a long time and then not doing it. Do you have any goals you want to achieve before the end of the year? Paying off my student loans. I am £5,000 away from paying off my student loans for various fortunate reasons. And yeah, so I really want to get that done because it's such a weight on my shoulders. I know it's not really debt. For a lot of people say it's not really debt, but I just really want to pay it off because it's driving me insane. I can't have it on my mind. So I thought I'd take advantage of this moment, and also the dollar is pretty strong against the pound right now because of Brexit. So yes, podcast update. Someone asked. I met with Lex over the break. We're going to be posting more to our Patreon in this updates as well. We still owe you guys who support us on Patreon playlists and stuff. Basically, we've come up with a new structure for it, and we need to do more when it comes to the guest stuff and yeah, just tying it all together a little bit more. But it will be back. It just might be a bit of a longer break than we expected. Also because October for me is kind of a lost month for anything other than Turtles All the Way Down. So I'm going to be focusing really hard on work, but that's, you know, one of those things that's comes with doing a full-time job and also doing YouTube. YouTube kind of sometimes has to take lower priority and so on. Let me scroll back up. How was my trip back home overall? It was great. It was really nice. So I'd planned this trip a while ago because it was September 1st, the anniversary of 19 years later, and I'd booked it with air miles and everything. And then the release date of Turtles All the Way Down was announced. And we had, like, you know, yeah. So I didn't realise when I booked this trip how soon it would be to the book release. So I was a bit worried about that. But it actually all worked out really well. And it was fun, and I saw a lot of people. And I also saw the film Mother, which I keep thinking about. I saw it like 3 weeks ago, and I'm still thinking about it. And I really want to make a video about that, actually. I just need to work out how I want to do it. And now that it's out, I'll probably go watch it again before I do that. Let's scroll back up. Thoughts on the new Taylor Swift songs? I really like them. But you know what? I've actually come to this realisation with Taylor Swift that I kind of don't need too many external opinions about her, if that makes sense. Like, I always get excited when I find other people who love things that I love. But with Taylor Swift, she's so divisive with people at the moment that I don't know, I feel very strongly about loving what I love. And my other faves, The Killers, are coming out with a new album so soon, in like a week. So that's really exciting. Their new song is absolutely beautiful. Favourite Lord song at the moment, probably Writer in the Dark, but I also really love The Love and Supercut and Liability. Liability is the rare song that's like too personal sometimes to even discuss or mention, which I just did. But yeah, I love all of those. Self-care tips, sleep. Sleeping is important. How is your apartment decorating going? It's going pretty well. It's actually looking really nice. But I am actually moving back when my visa's up in March. I'm still going to be working for John, but I'm moving back to London. So it's just about really enjoying the next 6 months or whatever of being in this flat. School stress and scheduling tips. Oh my gosh, school stress tips. Be kind to yourself. I don't know. Things that I found helpful were recording notes and things on your voice memos and things like that, and playing them in your ears as revision or as like just learning process, because just speaking it into the phone is kind of like a more gentle way of learning something, and then playing it back is also, you can like be drawing while you're doing it, you can be cooking while you're doing it, you can just be doing other things other than sitting and staring at your text, which I think can kind of get into your head a little bit. Any tips for balancing things? Google Calendar. Saying no when you really need to say no. I felt bad because I said no to a couple of people really last minute on this trip about some things that I'd committed to, and that's something that I absolutely hate doing. But it just became very apparent that I couldn't do those things. And while I felt and still feel really bad about it, I'm glad that I did that, because I think I would have burst. Taylor saw a big promo poster of Turtles All the Way Down at her local bookstore. Yay! I haven't. I saw like lots of things in the windows in the bookshops in the UK, but I haven't seen a thing in the US yet, because there isn't a bookshop that near me, so I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble soon and have a look. Tips on budgeting your money to save to pay off college debt. Oh, I have no idea. I mean, Brexit definitely helped. I kind of started to gamify it, and I basically in my calendar schedule out the paydays that I'm getting, and I get paid like every 2 weeks. So I put in there like, on this day I'll pay rent, or on this day I'll pay electricity, and so on. And then I'll also say send X number of dollars to the student loans company, and that was helpful. But it's also really helpful to have in one of my sticky notes on my desktop the amount that I currently owe, and then like hacking away at that is very satisfying. But also setting unassailable targets, unsustainable targets, some kind of targets. Did you watch season 7 of Game of Thrones? I did, but I know a lot of people haven't yet, so I'm going to avoid weighing in too much of that. But this was my first time watching it as everyone else was watching it, because I caught up. I watched the whole series last summer and loved it, but it's definitely very different watching the season with everyone else, and I enjoy that even more. I thought the season was really interesting. I thought it was really fun. It's like a little epic every single episode. Tips on living with 2 Gryffindors as housemates. I'm a Slytherin. Allow them their bravado and their stage of grandeur, because they see glory and they value glory and those big stages in a different way. I don't know. Gryffindors, what do we do? We're very loud sometimes. Sometimes we're loud. I know quite a lot of quiet Gryffindors, though. Surprise parties? I think Gryffindors like surprise parties. Okay. Thank you, Amelia, for your kind words about Backburner. Zoe, I love the Homemade Dynamite remix. My favourite thing, though, was that Vivo series that Lord did, where all of the songs were brilliant. How is my Twitter break going? My Twitter break is going extremely well. I'm actually really glad that I did it, because I was getting overwhelmed by just the scrolling aspect, and I wasn't learning anything from it, and I wasn't, paying more attention or hearing more voices. I was just getting really stressed and upset. And I was also posting too much as well. Became this like addiction somehow, and it was just really bad for me and bad for my health. So I'm glad I stepped away from it. I'm hopeful that I can find a way to like come back and post and read things, but like not get completely sucked in. I just need to find that balance that I haven't found yet. So we'll see. Will I miss America? Yeah, I mean, I'll be back. I'll travel a lot for work still, I'm sure. I will miss being... I mean, I have so many friends out here. I'll miss being around them as much as possible, and I in the US in general. And I'll miss working in an office with John and Meredith and Mark and everyone else who works in our offices. But I don't know, like it's been a wonderful American experiment. So we'll see. ¿Cómo estás? Estoy muy bien, gracias. Google Calendar is the best because it reminded me about Cursed Child tickets going on sale. Yeah, Google Calendar is my life. I have so many calendars on there of different types. What do you think about being vegan? Well, I'm not vegan anymore. I was for a little while, but I found it really hard in Indiana because it put, I don't know, I feel like it put everything on me. Like I had to do all of my food preparation and I had to do absolutely everything. And because I get back and I'm so tired, I just don't have the energy to do that. The alternative to that was spending quite a lot of money on like vegan specialty restaurant, like not restaurants, but like cafes and things like that, which they don't have loads of here, but they do have a few of. And it just financially like wasn't sustainable, and I couldn't manage to keep up my health with what was available here in Indiana. But I don't know, like it's also interesting was that when I started eating eggs again, because my doctor told me to, I did feel a lot better. So I clearly I was deficient in something. And that's not to say all vegans are deficient in something. It was just me in that moment was deficient in something that had me feeling so much better when I was eating eggs again. But I'm generally just like quite chill about going in and out. Like I think having, you know, dairy-free days is good for the planet, and I try and do as much for that as I can. But equally, like I don't punish myself for when I don't. And I feel the same about vegetarianism. Like I'm vegetarian and I didn't see myself eating meat anytime soon. But I think that there's nothing wrong with encouraging meat eaters who don't feel like they can become vegetarian to eat less meat, rather than say you have to become vegetarian or like you're a bad person or whatever. Is there a book or movie that helps you get out of a rut? Yes, there are lots of them. Well, anything Sorkin I really love because there's like that rhythm to his writing. So like Social Network or, The West Wing, obviously. And then Harry Potter because it's like homey, especially part 1. Arrival actually was really special. It came at this really special time and it was just, I thought it was really original storytelling. And actually, to be honest, Mother, which is in so many ways, such a messed up film, but it's so interesting because it just made me feel like something original could be created. It just made me excited about making things in a different way. And I feel like on YouTube, something that I come up against a lot is this like self-doubt because my videos, I'm not going to like be arrogant and say that they're completely different to everything on the platform. Like they're by no means not. They're definitely like infused with everything from the platform. But I sometimes do feel like I'm standing out here on my own, putting things up and thinking like, will anyone like this weird thing that I've made? And it was like a little strange voice of encouragement for that, which I really appreciated. Any tips for someone learning Spanish? No, because the only tip that I have is go back in time and speak it at the same time, learn it at the same time as you learn English. Or like just watch lots of Spanish films and listen to Spanish radio, and that will help. Mexican films, South American films, etc. Do you think going off Twitter has helped your productivity? 100%. I am such a better employee and a better friend and a better communicator since going off Twitter. The Killers just announced their show dates in New Zealand. I'm not even a Killers fan, but I want to go just to see why you love them so dearly. You should. They're amazing live. I just saw them again the other week. I love them. I love them so much. Honestly, when their new song, Some Kind of Love, came out, I'd listened to it various times, and then I was listening to it on this flight that I just took from from London to New York, and I just wept on this plane. It was very embarrassing. But I really love that song. That song was like exactly what I needed to hear. Have I taken the Myers-Briggs test? Yes, I'm an ENFJ, which actually I think is quite accurate. Best book for dealing with grief. What's the best book I read for dealing with grief? I read, shortly after my dad died, I read A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius by Dave Eggers. And that I thought was like, just really echoed a lot of the things that I was feeling at that time. And then there were also all the ones like, The Year of Magical Thinking and so on that would be traditionally recommended. But yeah. How to do all the things. Except that you can't do all the things. And that you have to prioritize. And it's really hard when you have 20 number one priorities. But you really have to pick one. At least for today. It doesn't have to be forever. It has to be your number one priority for today is X thing. That's how to do all the things. And then, be kind to yourself, etc., etc. You've worked from John for the UK before, but I was very curious as to how that works working so far away. Yeah, it's the magic of, honestly, all the Google suite, Google Drive, Google Docs, collaborative work together, GChat, and also just being good communicators with each other. We know each other really well by now, so I think we're pretty good at communicating about it. And just being reorganised. And self-structure as well is the other thing. It's quite easy to be like, oh, I don't want to work today, I don't want to do something. But, you've got to put yourself down to it. Self-employment can be a task of motivation, but I've generally been quite a self-motivated person, so I think that's also why the job works quite well for me. Are you excited for book tour? Yes. I'm not going to be on all of the book tour. I'm going to be on, parts of it. But I'm really excited for it because I've never been on a book tour. I've never worked with John while books coming out, so I'm excited. I'm really excited for it all to just be happening and out there. Favourite spot to be alone in London? Foyle's Bookshop, probably. I love it there. I love it because you can just wander around for hours and hours and hours. And then when you get tired, you can go and sit and have a cup of tea and a cake and then get back to wandering around for hours and hours and hours. What am I reading at the moment? What am I reading? I was reading The Red Clocks, but I think I might have left it in London, which is devastating. And I'm reading The Planet Factory by Elizabeth Tasker, which I'm having to read really slowly because there's a lot of physics in it. It's about the search for exoplanets, but it's really interesting. And I'm also reading for the first time High Fidelity, which I've never actually read. We've got spammer, guys. Black. There we go. Goodbye. I'm reading High Fidelity, which I've never read, and I think it was one of those books that I alluded to of reading before to friends and stuff. So I'm excited to actually have read it and stop being such a liar about it. Taylor says, I'm not a scary movie or horror fan, but Mother seems so interesting. Yeah, I don't think you should think of it as scary movie or horror. I think that's such a mischaracterization of what it is. There are moments that are horrifying and scary, but it's not like... I feel like this expectation of it as a horror film takes away from what people are seeing in it. Do I still talk to Ariel? I do, yes. I was just emailing with her the other day, actually. How to do all of the things with a 9 to 6. Make sure there are things that you love and that you find important. And sometimes you're going to have to choose between friends and the thing that you're doing. So you have to make some hard decisions. But then also, I think you just have to be quite clear communicating to your friends and family about, those times that you are picking something else over them. Or whether, you say, oh, let's meet up for drinks for an hour or let's go for dinner or something. And then I really have to go and work on this thing. And then stick to that yourself so that they can see that you're respecting your own boundaries and that they should too. So, yeah. Tips about moving far away from home. Listen to your favourite music all the time. Radio, usually you can listen to in other countries, your home radio. I listen to BBC Radio 4 all the time because I'm an old lady and I love that about myself. What other tips do I have? Oh, FaceTime audio is, if you have an iPhone, is a free way to call your friends. And I don't know, I think just stay in touch with people, but then also really throw yourself into that experience. Try and find events and things in the place you're moving to that are exciting and that you're interested in, or that you're at least curious about, and then you'll either meet new people who you adore and will be great friends with, or at the very least you'll just be like involved in the physical space of it, and that will be helpful probably to adjusting. How do you make sure that the roommates you're moving in with aren't crazy murderers? Ask them detailed questions that only a murderer would know. I don't know what these detailed questions are. And you probably don't either, because you're probably not a murderer. Maybe ask them a lot of hypothetical questions. Alternately, try to move in with people you know have recommended. That's an easy way around it, but I know it's not that simple. I don't know. I have no good solution for this one. Oh, Carly got one of those take a minute to breathe self-care bunny posters. Thank you, Carly. I hope that it helps you survive university. What is my favourite Disney movie? Lion King, probably. A lot of people think it's Beauty and the Beast. Like, they assume that it's Beauty and the Beast. But Beauty and the Beast was my sister's film. I really like The Lion King. And I always had a soft spot for Cinderella. I also really, really loved The Princess and the Frog. I thought that was such a beautiful film. And if we're extending into Pixar, WALL-E, for sure. When moving back to London, do you think you might do a video about growing up in a big city? As a city girl myself, I've always loved your videos about London and I would love to see more. Yes, I actually have a video somewhere, I don't know where the footage is, but it is somewhere on my computer, about getting to know your own city that I made with Sana, and I really want to upload that. I need to edit that. But yes, I will do that. Oh, thanks for the nice comments about my hair. Please make this live thing a tradition. Yeah, I'd like to do this every Sunday. I don't know how sustainable it's going to be, but I would like to do it. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'll try this at least in for the next few weeks. Have you read Turtles All the Way Down, and what was the first word that came to your head? Yes, I have read it many times. I am very excited for you to read it. The first word that came to my head was brilliant. Who is your favourite actress? I love Kate Winslet. I have like a lifelong love of Kate Winslet. I really, really love Kate Winslet, but I also really love Jennifer Lawrence. So, yeah. Who's my I think Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet or Maggie Smith, actually. Those are my two. Okay, I decided. Favourite thing about Star Wars, space. How are you finding your relationship with food right now? I don't know, it's up and down. I had a really not really crazy, it's not the right word. I had a really wild, like 48 hours before I went to London where my mental health just completely crashed, but now it's a lot better. So I'm feeling, you know, experimental. Are you still sticking to the 60-foot limit on 60 foot? Are you still sticking to the 50 book limit on your bookshelf? Yes, I am. Not right, well, right now there's like a massive stack next to my bookshelf of the books that I'm in the process of reading. But yeah, the actual like permanent bookshelf collection is maybe not 50 right now, but it's like 50 to 60 books long. So yeah. Did you see Dunkirk? Yes, I love Dunkirk. I was waiting for Dunkirk for a long time. I think that the criticism that it doesn't show as realistic a representation of who was at the beach there is very valid and fair, because the history of Gurkhas, for example, and the soldiers from the African colonies, that is a real glaring and unacceptable absence in the way that we talk about war. However, oh, Alison Janney, obviously Alison Janney. Sorry. My head this morning is in the wrong time zone. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I think the criticisms about it not being as representative of who was actually on the beach at Dunkirk is really valid and important, and so I want to start by saying that. Structurally, it's so interesting. I don't know how you structure something like that. Like, how do you write something like that? And it's just so tight, and Christopher Nolan is so good at that. And then visually, I saw it in IMAX, and I thought it was absolutely sensational. So, yeah, I was a big fan of Dunkirk, I have to say. It was one of my favourite films this year. My favourite apps, I like Forest. I don't really use that many apps on my phone. I've actually cleared most of the apps off my phone. Do I use Google Drive? Google Drive app is so good. I just love it. I like being organised. That's my thing. Messenger, that's how I keep in touch with everyone. Facebook Messenger, usually. How to be productive. If you can't make something happen, then go for a walk. Thoughts on To the Bone. I started watching To the Bone and then I had to stop watching it because it was going to give me a severe panic attack. How's your opinion of contemporary theatre these days? Oh, I love contemporary theatre. I miss going as much as I did when I was in London. I used to go and try and get return tickets or like £10 tickets and so on. And so I really miss doing that. But yeah, no, I really love going to the theatre. I haven't read many plays recently. I used to read a lot of plays and I haven't recently. So if you've got any recommendations, let me know. I've got a hiccup. Why are haircuts so expensive? Because I don't know. Because they're skilled? I don't know. It's a interesting question that I always ask myself on how to give my credit card. But they do a good job, so it's okay. Do you have plans for another back burner video soon? Yeah, I think so. I just got The Modern Cook's Year, the new Anna Jones book. So I might do one around that, or I might do something else. I haven't really decided yet. But it kind of just needs to be the right moment, the right mood. But I would like to do one before I go on tour and before everything kicks off in October. Have you read any Han Kang? No, I haven't. Favourite place to hang out in London? Foyles. For a place to read, I recommend Long Day's Journey into Night by Eugene O'Neill. Brilliant. Oh, I missed some. All right, haircuts. Back burner. Are you moving back to the UK? Yes, in March. I just moved to London. Any suggestions on things to do, eat, and see? Yeah, go to all of the free museums. Go and see some live music in like Camden, probably, or there are gigs all over. There's usually someone good playing somewhere. And eat good food. There's good food everywhere. The Gate, if you're going somewhere really fancy, the Gate is delicious vegetarian food. If you're going somewhere more casual, then I would say Breakfast Club, probably, for all-day breakfast. I read The Circle. I didn't like it, but it was a massive page turner. It was quite loud, Dunkirk. Dunkirk was quite loud, yes. Will I keep the live shows uploaded after they've ended? I'll keep them on unlisted. Yeah, so just save the link to this. Alice and Johnny went to my college. Hooray! Favourite poets and poems. I really love Auden. Who else do I love? My brain is so blank at the moment. I'm like looking over at my poetry collection right now. I don't know. Who do I love? I know this question. Sylvia Plath, because I get into dark places. Worcestershire. Who else do I love? There's so many poets and I can't think of anyone right now. But anyway, so it goes. 1 second, just gonna block a guy. Block. Blockety block, 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 block. Alright. Oh, this is so much fun. It's like, whack-a-mole. Alright, where did I go? Back burner, Alice and Johnny, Dunkirk is loud, live shows, Alice and Johnny, poets. How do you read so many books and manage to really absorb them, synthesize them? I actually find that I absorb them better if I'm reading them quickly and in succession and with other books, because it's kind of like all of the books are in conversation with each other and in conversation with my day. So it's really, for me, about making the time to do it, and a lot of the time that means reading in the morning before I go to work and try and have reading be the last thing I do at night. Usually I don't have my laptop in my room, but I've had to have it because sometimes I have trouble sleeping, so I listen to audiobooks. So yeah, so that's kind of how I just have to carve out the time properly. That's Jenny. Are you moving back to London? Yes, in March when my visa's up. How to not feel like you're not worth liking because someone hasn't dated or being liked recently. Oh, this is such a hard thing to deal with, and I definitely get myself into real ruts about that, and I think sometimes you can like just get yourself in a loop of thinking about that. But I think it just goes back to really establishing yourself and your like for yourself, not based on other people. And it's hard to really explain how to do that because it's nothing that, you know, can be accomplished by like doing one task or anything. It's a process of loving yourself. It's not an achievement. It's not a moment or state of being. You always have to work on it. But yeah, I mean, just it comes back to like whose metrics am I using to make the measure of me? Like, how am I deciding that I'm of value? Am I just putting that weight on other people and other people's judgments of me? And why am I doing that? And it's just this like constant self-reflection that can get really exhausting and feel really insular, but is helpful. Human X is brilliant. Please try it. Will do. Why are you moving back? Because my visa's up and because the US voted for Donald Trump, to be honest. Favorite theatre play is it's either I have quite a few favorites. I really like The Crucible. I love Arcadia by Tom Stoppard, and Hamlet is still one of my favorites. And the other one that I really love is the newer version of Metamorphosis by, I can never say the name right, but Gisli Ord-Godarson, that I saw at the Lyric Theatre many, many years ago, and it was just absolutely stunning. Play recommendations are good. They're coming in. I'm not John's assistant. I'm his production partner. And no, I'm still going to be working with him. How do you provoke self-motivation when you're not very good at it? I don't know. I think you just have to structure your days in very rigid ways as though you're like going to school or something. Where would you want to visit in Canada if they haven't gone to yet? I would want to go to Montreal because my dad always wanted to take me to Montreal and I've never been. I've heard it's beautiful. Any tips for dealing with anxiety? I don't know. Combination of therapy and exercise, and for me medication, but for other people different solutions. And also I don't really drink caffeine as much anymore, and that's been really helpful. I haven't seen the new It. I will be seeing it. I'm going to parts of the tour, yeah, and I have read the new book. And any tips for going to concerts and festivals alone? This is something that I absolutely love doing because you get to go and see everyone that you wanted to see, and you do exactly what you want, and you leave when you want to, and you don't have to feel like bad about leaving early if you leave early, or going late if you want to go late. My tips would be remember to feed yourself and hydrate, but then also, just as you would with anything else, schedule it out, and you don't have to stick to that schedule of like who you want to see when and what stage they're on, but it really helps you get a sense of the layout of the place and what's interesting and so on, and do some research, like listen to music beforehand. Any tips on dealing with new job stress? Continue to make plans with your friends and things, and have those opportunities to vent what you're feeling, even if you can't really do that like at work because you don't know people and you want to protect your first impressions and so on. But the other thing I would say is just you have like a month or so when you first join a job, which is kind of a grace period of you're allowed to make mistakes and ask as many questions as you need to at work. So make the most of that. I've got to go in the next 5-10 minutes, just letting you guys know. Do you read non-fiction technical books? Sometimes, but not super often because they make my head hurt, but I like to read them. It makes me feel like I'm learning things. When is the podcast coming back? Well, I spoke about this a little bit earlier, but we had a meeting we had an official podcast meeting in London, and it might be a little bit longer than we expected just because of everything with the book coming out and so on. But I'm really excited about the things that we have planned, and we'll be posting updates pretty soon. What do you think the role of men is in the feminism movement? I think it's to do a lot of listening. I think it's to amplify voices, whether that's in personal relationships or in on a broader scale, if you have a broader platform. of people that you might not hear as much, like women's voices, especially women of colour and disabled women, and women who don't speak English and so on. I think that that's really important. I think, in a lot of ways it's support and listening, and as with all other issues, it's not isolated in and of itself. It kind of fits into the complex world. And I think there are some people who sort of like falsely attach themselves to certain labels because it's like trendy right now, or it will lead to universal approval or something. Like it's I don't know, there's like the sense of people giving themselves labels which are important movements that have long histories. You don't have to know everything about the movement, but I think you at least need to be somewhat engaged with it before you start using it, or so you don't start using it as this identifier for yourself to kind of give yourself more kudos with other people or something. Favorite skincare product? I love the Pi Rosehip Oil, and I love Gorgeous by Lush. What are your favourite podcasts? Invisibilia and The West Wing Weekly, and Dear Hank and John, of course. But cruelty-free makeup recommendations. I've been just using the same stuff recently. I really like the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder foundation for my particular skin type, my particular skin colour, and my particular complexion. It's been really nice. I watched Cursed Child in one day on the day before my birthday last year, and it was really fun. I recommend it. It was good. Any ideas for dinner? Someone recently commented on a really old video of mine in which I made a halloumi and quinoa salad, and it just made me really hungry for that because I used to make that all the time. I haven't made that in forever. Thoughts on Hidden Figures for someone who's thinking about watching it? Yeah, my thoughts is that you should watch it. It's interesting in the sense that like there are lots of different things at play, and it's definitely not without parts of it that I wish would have been a bit different. But it's such an important educational tool about history in a lot of ways. I'd also encourage you to read the original book afterwards because it's completely fascinating. How do I speak up to my friend if he is very callous? Take them aside and say that you didn't appreciate that thing that they said, maybe. It's hard. It's definitely a hard thing. I think that standing up to your friends is one of the hardest things that you can do. But it's also one of the most important. And then also being ready to listen when they don't, maybe not respond as you'd like them to respond. It's scary, but it's important. Favourite musical? Hamilton. That was convenient. We've got people from Brazil and Jordan. Hello. Have you seen Arrival? Yes, it was one of my favourite films of last year. I absolutely love it, and it really made me think. Have you read Chavs by Owen Jones? Yes, I have. Do I wait to get a job before moving from California to New York? I think so. I think that getting a job first is always a better idea. I know a lot of people who've been kind of left in the lurch by not doing that, but I also understand when you want to make a move and a big change in your life, then you kind of want to just do it as soon as possible. I just think that it's better to have regular income locked in before you do that. Just because also moving brings so many expenses, and you might think that like you've got enough kind of buffer to do that, but then you find out that you don't. And it's not a nice feeling at all, and you don't want to be in that position. Would you go to Mars if you could? Yes, for sure. But I'd rather go to other places. Do you listen to Pod Save America? Yes, I do. I listen to it. Sometimes I have to like take a little break from it, but I do listen to it. Thoughts on the new Taylor Swift songs? I really like them. And as I said earlier, like I've fully accepted that my opinion on Taylor Swift is mine, and I love her, and I really don't need other people's input about her because it's something that brings me joy. So I don't really check other people's thoughts in the same way that I used to, I think. Ruth says, look like a nice halloumi salad, but I thought if you made it now, you'd add more spices, herbs, etc. Yeah, for sure. Like, I'd make it much more complex. But it's kind of fun to see the progression. And it was quite like a basic thing. It was like making the equivalent of like just making plain pasta. But yeah, and I think that those kinds of recipes are fun to tweak and so on. Are you on Goodreads? No, because Goodreads is owned by Amazon, and I don't like Amazon. Last good thing you watched on Netflix? The West Wing. Sorry, that's not a helpful answer, but I actually haven't found myself getting sucked into that many things. What's the last thing you created that you feel really proud of? My Corfu video, probably. How to deal with imposter syndrome. Tell yourself that you have a right to be doing whatever it is you're doing as much as the next person. And that's all the advice I can give, but I think you just have to repeat it to yourself over and over again. How are your creative projects going? Writing, video making, etc. They're going well. Time is really tight this month for obvious reasons, but they're going well. I just need to make even more time to write and make videos and spend less time just kind of in the darkness, you know? Why don't you like Amazon? Because Amazon aren't very good to their employees at all. I know a lot of people who have worked there and have had a terrible time. They've also been absolutely appalling to the industries that they have actively tried to destroy, not least bookselling. And I grew up working in an independent bookshop. That was my first job when I was 16, 17, 18, 19. So it was really devastating to see the way that they treat both the book-selling industry and the publishing industry, and it's really sad to see, and I have no respect for them whatsoever. So I try actively, it's a shame because they keep buying all these companies that I really like, but so I don't use Audible and I don't use Goodreads, and now I won't shop at Whole Foods, which is fine, because every time I shopped at Whole Foods, I was spending too much money anyway. Whole paycheck, am I right? Buy more books on Amazon for cheap, or buy fewer books in stores for lots? I think buy fewer books in stores for lots, or go to charity shops or libraries. I think that libraries are, I know that libraries aren't what they used to be, but you can often request books that you really like, and you can often find things that you might not have read because they didn't come out in the last 18 months or whatever, but they're still really good and important and valuable. But I know that people don't necessarily have libraries near them or accessible to them. I just think that there's, other avenues there. Have you watched House of Cards? Yes. I've also watched the original House of Cards. I really liked the first couple of seasons of House of Cards especially, but the original House of Cards I watched recently and absolutely loved. The British set in the UK, and it's really brilliant. It's from the early 90s. How to get a job in a bookshop? I don't know. So I went into a bookshop, I think I was about 10, 16. I said that I wanted a job, and then I basically came back not understanding that they'd said call to check in to see whether there's job availability. I basically came back and said I'm ready for an interview, and they were like, I think we said call first, but they actually interviewed me there and then, and it all worked out great. And then I worked there for a long time. How can you have a good ratio of absorbing art and inspiring things, giving back and creating things? Well, I think reading and, going to see exhibitions and stuff, that's part of the creative process. It's not as simple as an in tray and an out tray. I think that's part of creating, and it has to be valued as that. And that's at least how I think of it, and that's what's been helpful to me. Who'd have thunk it says, Hive is a great alternative to Amazon. They donate some of the money from their portion to your local bookshop. Similar price range too, so that's a good one. Podcast recommendations. Yes, Invisibilia, The West Wing Weekly, Song Exploder, I really love. I'm listening to a Babysitters Club podcast at the moment, which I'm really enjoying. So there's lots of stuff. Job search, pep talks, keep going, and personalize your cover letters, and apply to 20 jobs a day. Those are my thoughts. Any thoughts on new Amazon brick and mortar stores? Yeah, I think it's just repulsive what they've done to the industry. I have no chill when it comes to Amazon. I really don't like them. And I just think that I actually, to be honest, living in Indiana has made me understand more about why Amazon has flourished so much, because there's not a centralized high street and all of that stuff. And I've always lived in London, so I've had a lot of access to different shops and things. But at the same time, it's so repulsive to me, and people get so lazy about it. I'll just order it instead of walking outside for 5 minutes. But anyway, it's fine. I have a lot of feelings, and I know that some of them aren't rational, but yeah. Are you a naturally stressed person? If so, do you have any tips to deal with stress? I don't know if I'm a naturally stressed person, but I definitely don't take care of myself, or I see like this warning sign that I'm reaching my limit of things that I'm taking on, and then I'll just drive right past it. So that's my problem more than anything else. It's not so much like being naturally stressed, it's more not knowing, not properly internalizing, no, you need to stop, because otherwise you're going to crash out and then you're just going to lose a week or 2 weeks or longer because you're not going to have been taking care of yourself. So it's kind of learning to identify that. Do you feel guilty when you donate old books and clothes? No, I feel good because my life is lighter and hopefully someone can find things that they like more. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel any guilt about it whatsoever. I actually really enjoy doing it. Also, like, I've worn a lot of my clothes. You'll see me wear my clothes over and over again in videos. So, yeah. I need to wind up, unfortunately, but thank you to coming for my first mobile live show. I will talk more about this, so save all your questions. I can see some more questions coming in, and just like I said, when I see a sign that I need to stop, I need to stop. But I really want to answer all of these that are coming in. So yeah, do save them. I'll try and do this at the same time next Sunday, or a similar time, and I will put a note about what time I'm going live on my community page probably, and maybe in Instagram. And in any case, you can turn on notifications and stuff and it should pop up. All right, speak to you soon. Bye. Tappy tappy. Let me tap.